So let's just use the average person out there who's trying to, learn about Bitcoin, get a little bit of it. They're dipping their toes into it. I think that the average person right now does not have a whole lot of disposable income. That's why we're saying if you can get to 1 million sats right now, you're going to be so much further ahead than everybody else. But if you think about it like this, let's say you don't have a whole lot of disposable income. We're not really telling you to get a second job or a third job. I mean, it might not be a bad idea for the next couple of years here to get some sats. But like, just kind of look around your house and say you can drum up like $250, $300, $350 of just selling things that you don't use anymore. And let's say you just put that into Bitcoin. So you're not really going out of your way. You're not giving up any food in your fridge. You're not missing any rent payments with that. You're just taking stuff around your house and you're buying some Bitcoin with that. Zero risk. And let's say that this thing, so with $350 today, you can get about, let's say 300,000 sats, give or take between Canada, US, 300,000 sats. Let's assume that this thing plays out like we expect it to, where one day one sat is eventually going to equal $1. That a lot of people call for that. I'm under the opinion that I think that that's going to happen within our lifetime. So you got 300,000 sats today that you sold some stuff around your house for. Fast forward a decade or two away, you still got the 300,000 sats. You probably got a couple more, but $1 equals one sat. That's $300,000 worth of purchasing power, essentially. So it's essentially like buying time into the future by buying Bitcoin today, because you have now $300,000 worth of purchasing power in the future. Maybe you could take 5 years off and go to work after that or something. Like, we're kind of getting away from the old structure that we've grown up in here, where you can start looking at, what can I buy today in Bitcoin that's going to buy me time in the future? And I think it's a very easy calculation to do for anybody who's willing to put in a little bit of time there. So it's going to just get harder and harder to obtain sats. And I really think that people should be acting with some sort of urgency right now to get as many as possible. There's never been a better chance for the average person to have more real wealth than the people who have held the wealth in the old system.
Yeah. You got to think about the future. And there's that quote that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And that's the way to look at Bitcoin as well. Of course, yeah, it would have been great to have bought in Bitcoin, 10 years ago, but you would have opened yourself up to the risk of Mt. Gox, of exchange failures, all these risks, right? That now we don't have, because it's become institutionalized. It's become a lot more friendly with the UX. And so a lot of the risk premium or the risk discount is gone. And that's just going to continue to disappear on you over time. I think that it's not worth trying to wait and time the market. And this and that. Like, it's just like, start dollar cost averaging so you don't get totally upset if there's some volatility downturn. You get excited because you're in your accumulation phase. If there's a downturn, maybe create some sort of strategy where you're buying more when the price goes down, and you have just a regular dollar cost average when the price is going up, right? That's a pretty decent strategy. It allows you that kind of middle ground of lump summing, timing the market, but also just getting exposure over time with the dollar cost average strategy. That would be my suggestion. Of course, not financial advice.
Yeah.
Jory, you want to accept Rajat's share there?
Oh, sorry. I didn't even see it there, Rajat.
Oh, no worries.
Sleeping at the wheel.
I just remade your spreadsheet quickly just so you can explain it. I thought you said that you lost it. I thought this was such a great example of why you should accumulate Bitcoin today versus later on. Go ahead with your explanation there.
You recreated this while we were talking there? You're a wizard, man. Yeah. That took me like 3 hours to do. No. So this is basically just showing, I love this example because it's just a really good way for people to be thinking about like how much opportunity exists today. So if we look back to, let's just go with something simple here, the $10,000 or the $25,000 mark there, which was about 2 years ago in Bitcoin. You could have purchased one full Bitcoin for $25,000. And so we look at the $500 there. That's kind of like somebody's disposable income. Maybe you do a job for somebody, you build somebody's deck, or that's just kind of your take home after 2 weeks of going to your 9-to-5 job. Let's say it's $500. So 2 years ago, you would have gotten 2 million sats for that amount of value that you added to the world for going to the job that you do. And if we fast forward now, so you had 2 million sats there. If we fast forward to today, where Bitcoin's $100,000, that exact same work that you did, exact same effort you exerted, everything there, that now gets you 526,000 sats. So about a quarter of what it did 2 years ago.
Based on the current price, that 95,000. Yeah.
Based on the current price. And if Bitcoin does what people kind of expect it to, this bull run, you know, maybe we get up to 1 million. Let's do $1 million Bitcoin. Again, you go to the exact same job, you do the exact same work, exact same amount of effort. Now you're only earning 50,000 sats for that. And that just goes to show that as time goes on here, it's going to be harder and harder to obtain sats, but also you're going to have to work harder and harder for the sats that you can get today versus what it's going to cost you in the future there.
So if you had $1 million, if you had $1 million portfolio, at $1,000, you could buy 1,000 Bitcoin. At $1 million, you can buy 1 million Satoshis. Or at $100 million, you can buy 1 million Satoshis. Insane.
Yeah. It really puts it in perspective that, our time and energy, the value of it is decreasing in sats.
Yes.
It's kind of a weird way to put it, but I think that once that clicks for people, they'll start to realize, like Jor has been saying, the urgency of this. Like, you don't want the value that you create in this world to be deflationary, but with a deflationary currency, it is. And that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to get some in case it catches on.